How close are we to more lockdowns? Are you ready for some more panic buying? Because it's definitely happening soon. So stick around for the rest of the video. We're going to talk about how close we are to all these new lockdowns that are coming our way and what some examples around the world kind of look like so we can kind of see what to expect here in the future. Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and today we're talking about how close we are to all these new lockdowns. Are they on the way, and when will they happen? Well, there's a lot of things happening right now around the world that can give us some indication of where we're heading. And we know that in this country, things are starting to go back to ways like they were back in the spring. So we are going to try to stay on top of it because when it comes to lockdowns, one of the things we know happens every time is rounds of panic buying. And when the panic buying occurs, it leaves people less prepared than they might have otherwise been if they don't have some of those essential items. So if you're preparing for another round of lockdowns and you're thinking it's going to happen very soon, hit the subscribe button below because we are going to keep talking about it and we're going to try to do our best to stay ahead of everything that's happening, and a lot of things are happening. So just recently, the governor of New York, Cuomo, basically said that all restaurants and gyms and bars are going to close after 10 o'clock. Now, I don't know what a night curfew is going to do in the sense of stemming some of the resurgence of the pandemic, but this is what's being done in New York. So this is in the United States. This is happening right now. Now, one of the things that's even more invasive than that, and definitely something we have to start looking at a little more closely, is the ban on private gatherings at private homes and residences of anything larger than 10 people. Now that is starting to get to a different realm of a situation here. It's one thing to start shutting down businesses, it's one thing to start shutting down travel, but when you start telling people what they can or can't do in their own homes, I have a feeling things are going to get a little bit dicey. But that's what's happening in New York, and that is exactly what we can start anticipating in other parts of the country based on the fact that we're already seeing it happen here, okay? So give you some examples of what's going on around the rest of the world that we know is going to be projected onto us here in the United States. England, for example, is on their second round of lockdowns. They're saying, look, the resurgence of the pandemic is coming too quickly. We don't overwhelm our healthcare centers, so we're going to lock down the whole country for 4 weeks. And so for 4 weeks, restaurants and bars and basically anything with a liquor license is shut down, and then they're going to ban non-essential stores as well. So anything that isn't necessary in the sense of groceries or medicine is going to be shut down as well. They're also telling people that they need to stay home for 4 weeks. This is a 4-week lockdown. So for 4 weeks, the people are being told they have to stay home, and they're not even allowed to mix households. Whatever that means, basically you have to stay with your own family in your own home, and that's it. They don't want any mixing of households unless it's related to childcare or something like that. So that's what they're telling us in regards to what they're doing to their people in the sense of lockdowns. Now, this is going to happen between November 5th and December 2nd. So England's already experiencing this. If you are in England and you're a prepper and this is what you're experiencing right now, leave comments below so we can kind of understand what's happening with your area and how it's affecting you or those that you care about. So let us know in the comments so we can kind of see what's happening over there, okay? So for example, other countries as well in Europe, Greece and Cyprus, both of those countries are starting to do curfews and travel restrictions within their countries and telling people that they can't be out past 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. in some cases, and then saying that certain towns can't get any travel in or out of those towns. So if that's happening there, and basically once you start talking about restricting travel in a certain way and implementing curfews, I mean, we all in this community especially understand that that's very close to the concept of something like martial law. So we're starting to see some of those different tactics be used across the seas, and we have to anticipate some of those being used here because people take examples from all over the world and then try to implement them in other places if they see results. And whether or not those results are one way or the other based on what everybody's thoughts are on this whole situation, that is the data they're going to use and then take that and run with it if it comes to what's happening here in our country. So you do have to be ahead of the panic buying in this country if you're going to be suddenly told you can't leave your home for 4 weeks. Let's say, in the way that England's trying to say. So keep that in mind, okay? So why do we think that the lockdowns are going to be coming soon? And why are they coming back? Well, honestly, they are coming soon. New York has already started the ball rolling, and we're going to be on our way here with the winter months coming in and everything else happening around our country. These lockdowns are on their way because we are getting to some different milestones that we didn't want to actually be at, but here we are. And in states like North Dakota, where I live, or even Wisconsin, they're starting to get at capacity when it comes to their hospital system. And that was one of the biggest pushes for back when they did lockdowns and back when they were trying to limit the types of businesses that are allowed to operate. They use the idea of not overwhelming the hospital system as the main push, the main reason behind why they had to do those things. Because if the healthcare system becomes overloaded and then people aren't able to receive the care that they need, then things get much, much worse. So here in my state, and as well as other states, the hospital system is already becoming, into the situation they didn't want to be in, which is reaching capacity and not being able to actually take care of everybody that needs to walk in and, come through the door of the hospital. So that is where those states are. States like Texas have just reached a milestone of having over 1 million confirmed cases within just their state. So California is very close behind that as well. So these are just examples of why you can see these lockdowns are coming back soon. And Europe is going to be setting those trends because they're just used to having these kinds of limitations in place for their populace. So England doing their secondary lockdown, and Greece and Cyprus and countries even like Spain are all starting to implement things like curfews and travel restrictions. Then we can expect some of those same tactics to be brought over here. And especially if there's a change in leadership or anything else like that going on in this country, things could change from the perspective of what our leaders are trying to accomplish. And next thing you know, these lockdowns could be even more strict than they were in the past. So are lockdowns coming soon? Yes. And are they on their way? Probably within the next few weeks, I would say definitely. So keep that in mind, because the biggest thing about these lockdowns that we have to be prepared for is the non-access of essential items that everybody realized they didn't have enough of back in March and April. And obviously it's somewhat ironic for me to put the toilet paper up here on the workbench, but it's just a good reminder of how things were back then, okay? And if you don't have a decent supply of toilet paper by now, after everything we've been through, then you probably need to get out and find yourself some additional supplies before we get back to point A, which is what we were all at back in March of 2020, right? So do your best, stay ahead of the game, make sure you have what you need now. Hopefully, and I'm saying very hopefully, most of the community here was able to go out and acquire those things during the last few months and not have to worry about that all happening again. That's kind of the idea of being a prepper, right? Being prepared is making sure you have what you need to avoid any other types of situations in the future, especially ones you've already hopefully learned from. But for those of us who maybe didn't have the resources to be able to do some of that, or maybe for those of us who are brand new to the situation, because there are still some people like that, I guarantee it, then make sure you're going out and getting what you need now, because it's very likely that these lockdowns are coming back very soon. I know in my state, they already moved everything to the orange risk level, which means there's only one risk level left after that, which is red, and then everything's shut down again, basically. But either way, we're on our way. And what we're hearing from Europe and what we're hearing from states like New York is that they're already doing it, and we just have to basically wait our turn in line. So with that being said, make sure you have what you need, get out there, make sure you stock up on those things that we all know disappeared last time around. And I'll even link a video up here on the screen somewhere, so that way you guys can go back to one of the videos I put out saying, hey, these things will run out again if there's more panic buying. And you'll see that those are the things that everybody freaked out about, 7 months ago. So if you have any questions or you need any advice about some of the stuff that you need to get, leave it in the comments below. And if you need any other help with anything when it comes to prepping, let everyone know in the comments, because there's some excellent people in this community and we are all here to help each other out. So even if I don't get to you, a lot of times somebody else will, and they have some great advice. So without anything else to say about how close we are to new lockdowns, and without anything else to say about panic buying a ton of toilet paper, that's going to be it for Magic Prep.